We spend so much time wondering why someone who once adored us suddenly pulls away, why they seem so cold, distant, or indifferent now. And often in our panic, we start doing more texting, more explaining, more waiting, more hoping. But the truth is, the very things we do to get someone back often push them further away. What if I told you that his return, his moment of regret, his longing to come back won't happen because of what you do, but rather because of what you stop doing? This isn't about playing games. It's about waking up to a reality where your peace, your dignity, and your emotional freedom come first. It's about shifting your focus away from fixing the relationship and turning it toward fixing your relationship with yourself. Because that's where the power is. In this speech, we're going to talk about 3 habits that keep you stuck in heartbreak, and how letting go of them isn't just healing for you, it's often the very thing that makes him realize what he lost. Let's begin. When someone pulls away from us, especially someone we love, our instinct is to chase. We reach out. We double text, we ask if everything's okay, we try to fix it, we replay conversations, overanalyze tone, and think if we just say the right thing, they'll come back. But that energy, the chasing, the fixing, the trying, is often the exact thing that pushes them further away. Because love isn't felt when someone is always there, waiting. It's felt in their absence. It's felt in the moment we realize what it means to no longer have someone's presence, their time, or their attention. When you chase someone, you're signaling that they're the prize and that you're just hoping to be picked. But healthy relationships don't work that way. The moment you start trying to prove your worth is the moment you lose your value in their eyes. Not because you're not worthy, but because you're giving too much of yourself to someone who isn't meeting you halfway. It creates an imbalance. They know you'll be there no matter how they behave. And if they know you're not going anywhere, they stop feeling the urgency to fix what's broken. There's a psychological principle called loss aversion. People are more impacted by the loss of something than they are by gaining something new. In relationships, this means people don't always realize what they had until it's gone. When you're constantly present, checking in, liking their posts, sending little messages, you're preventing that space of loss from being felt. You're keeping the connection alive artificially. And while that might give you comfort, it doesn't spark any new desire in them. They already know you're emotionally available. They don't have to do anything to earn it. That's why they don't feel the need to return. But when you stop chasing, everything changes. You create a gap. You remove the emotional safety net they've been relying on. They begin to wonder what's changed. They notice the silence. And it's in that silence that the mind starts playing tricks. Why hasn't she called? Did she move on? Was she actually over me? The same person who took you for granted begins to question their assumption. That space, that silence, that distance. It becomes your greatest power, and you didn't even have to say a word. It's not about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your energy. Every time you chase someone who's pulling away, you're draining yourself emotionally. You're investing in someone who isn't investing in you. That imbalance is exhausting. It leaves you feeling anxious, unwanted, and confused. But when you stop chasing, you send a message, not to them, but to yourself. You say, I deserve to be pursued too. I deserve reciprocity. And when you start showing up for yourself in that way, everything begins to shift. Sometimes people need to lose you to see your worth. It's not fair, but it's real. The problem is, most people never give them the chance to feel that loss. We're so scared of letting go that we hold on tighter, but that tight grip only suffocates the connection further. Instead, loosen your hold. Step back, let the silence speak, because it's in the space you leave behind that they can finally realize what they had. Think about the times you've missed someone the most. It wasn't when they were blowing up your phone. It was when they disappeared, when they stopped showing up, when you started wondering if they were really gone. That's the moment your brain began romanticizing them. That's the moment you felt the loss. The same happens in reverse. But it can only happen if you stop filling the gap. Stopping the chase isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. You're not going to keep showing up for someone who keeps disappearing. You're not going to beg for the bare minimum. You're not going to prove your worth to someone who should have seen it from the start. The moment you adopt that mindset, the energy changes. And when the energy changes, so do the dynamics. You don't need to text him. You don't need to remind him of what you had. Your silence is loud enough. Your absence is powerful enough. And when you stop doing the chasing, you create the one thing that's been missing this whole time: mystery. And mystery is what reawakens curiosity. Curiosity leads to action, and that's when they come back. Not because you begged, not because you explained, but because you finally stopped chasing and allowed them to feel what life is like without you. And that is when the shift begins. Trying to prove your worth to someone who isn't showing up for you is one of the most exhausting things you can do. It's natural, especially when someone pulls away, to want to remind them of who you were together. You might send long messages explaining how much you gave, how good things were, or how much you care. You want them to see it, to feel it, to finally get it. But here's the hard truth. The more you try to explain your worth, the less they feel it. Because real value doesn't need to be spoken, it's felt. You don't win someone back by showing them a highlight reel of your loyalty, your kindness, or your sacrifices. You win someone back, if it's even worth winning them at all, by stepping into your value and letting them remember it for themselves. The more you try to remind him of what he lost, the more he becomes desensitized to it. You're not reminding him, you're reducing yourself to a salesperson for your own love. There's a quiet confidence in not explaining, a powerful energy in silence. When you stop over-explaining, you shift from a position of desperation to one of self-respect. You say, without words, if you didn't see my worth when you had me, I'm not going to try to convince you now. That is magnetic, that is attractive, and most importantly, that is healing for you. Explaining your worth usually comes from a place of pain. You want closure, you want clarity, you want them to say, you're right, I messed up. But most of the time that never comes. Or worse, it comes after you've already damaged your own self-respect by begging for what you should have received freely. And even if it does come, it's rarely satisfying. Because what you were really searching for wasn't their validation, it was yours. When someone is emotionally distant or unsure about you, the more you try to prove yourself, the more you reinforce the idea that you are the one chasing them. And the more they feel like the one with power. But when you pull your energy back, when you no longer feel the need to explain why you matter, you take the power back without ever raising your voice. You let your silence remind them of everything you brought to their life. You let the contrast speak. Think of it this way. Your worth isn't in the messages you send trying to convince someone to love you. It's in the love you gave freely while you were present. It's in the patience, the support, the effort you offered. If they didn't appreciate it then, words now won't suddenly change that. People don't remember you because of what you said when it ended. They remember you because of how they felt when they had you, and how it feels once you're gone. When you stop trying to prove your worth, something amazing happens. You reclaim your dignity. You no longer base your confidence on how they respond. You no longer hand them the power to define how lovable you are. Instead, you define it. You walk away with grace. You set boundaries. You choose peace over persuasion. And in doing that, you actually become unforgettable. Letting go of the need to explain also gives you space to heal. Every moment spent crafting a message, reliving memories, or arguing your value is a moment you could be using to come back to yourself, to rebuild, to reconnect with the parts of you that may have been neglected in that relationship. When you stop convincing, you start growing. People often think closure comes from a conversation, from the one last talk where everything gets explained. But real closure comes from acceptance. It comes when you say, I gave love, I showed up. And that's enough. You don't need them to validate your experience. You were there. You know what you felt. You know what you gave. Let that be your proof. And sometimes, when you truly let go of the need to explain, that's exactly when they come back. Because your silence forces them to reflect. Your absence becomes the mirror they didn't know they needed. They start to remember not just what you did, but how it felt to have you. And if there's any regret, it grows louder in that quiet space. But even if they don't come back, or if they do and you no longer want them, you'll know you held your dignity. You'll know you didn't lower your value trying to prove it. And that, more than anything, is what keeps your heart whole. You don't need to tell them your worth. Live it, walk in it, and let that be the last word. Waiting is one of the most deceptive things we do when someone we love pulls away. It feels passive, but it consumes everything. You wait for the phone to ring. You wait for the message to come through. You wait for them to realize, to miss you, to wake up and show up differently. But in that waiting, your life begins to shrink. Your happiness becomes suspended. You're no longer living. You're just pausing, hoping for someone else to press play again. The problem with waiting is that it puts your power outside of yourself. Your emotions become tied to someone else's decisions. You wake up every day wondering if today is the day they'll reach out. Your peace hangs in the balance of their choices. And in doing that, you lose yourself a little more every day. You start saying no to opportunities, avoiding social events, even dressing differently, not for your own joy, but because in the back of your mind you want to be ready just in case he comes back. But life doesn't happen in the just in case. Life happens in the right now. And every moment you spend frozen in place, you're giving away time you'll never get back. Not only that, but the energy of waiting is heavy. It clings. It radiates neediness, even if you never say a word. And that energy is not attractive. It's repelling. Not because there's anything wrong with having hope, but because that hope has turned into emotional dependence. He can feel it, and deep down, you feel it too. When you stop waiting and start moving, everything changes. You begin to reclaim your time, your space, your rhythm. You get back into your body. You re-enter your life. And this isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about reminding yourself that you matter too. Your plans, your passions, your friendships, your growth. None of that should be on hold because someone couldn't decide if they wanted to stay. One of the most powerful things you can do after a breakup or after someone becomes distant is to start building a life that excites you again. Not a life that proves something to them, but a life that fills you up. When you stop waiting, you begin to realize how much power you actually have. You get out of the waiting room and into the world. You go places, you try things, you meet people. And in doing that, your energy shifts. You go from, will he come back, to, do I even want him back in this new version of my life? That shift in perspective is gold, because the more you expand your life, the smaller his absence begins to feel. And ironically, that's often when he starts to notice. He senses the change, even from afar. Your silence becomes radiant, not bitter. Your absence becomes intriguing, not angry. You're no longer sitting around hoping for him to return. You're living, and that makes you magnetic. Men are drawn to women who are in motion, not in waiting. When he sees that you're thriving, not to impress him, but because you've reconnected with yourself, it flips the narrative. Suddenly he's the one who's unsure. He's the one wondering what you're doing, who you're seeing, what you're thinking. The dynamic shifts, not because you tried to manipulate it, but because you simply chose. Letting go of waiting doesn't mean you never cared. It doesn't mean you're bitter or closed off. It means you trust yourself enough to keep going. It means you know that love should never ask you to press pause on your own happiness. It means that you've realized healing doesn't come from time alone. It comes from what you do with your time. And let's be honest, if someone truly wants to be with you, they will make it known, loudly, clearly, consistently. You won't have to decode silence or wait around hoping for a sign. Real love shows up. Anything less isn't worth putting your life on hold for. So start saying yes again to plans, to passions, to possibilities. Go to that event, book that trip, change your hair, meet new people, start that project. Your life is still yours, no matter who left. And the sooner you start living it, the sooner you return to your center. When you stop waiting, you stop rising. You stop being the one who's stuck and become the one who's growing. And whether or not he comes back, that version of you, the one who chose movement over pause, action over hope, is the strongest, most irresistible version yet. Not because she was waiting for someone else to give her life meaning, but because she remembered it was hers all along. When a relationship ends or someone pulls away, one of the most dangerous things we do is hold on to a version of the past that wasn't real. We romanticize the highlights. We replay the sweet moments, the laughs, the connection, the memories that made our hearts feel full. We zoom in on those times and convince ourselves that this is what we had all along. That if we could just get that version of the relationship back, everything would be okay. But here's the truth. Most people don't want to face. The past you keep clinging to might only be a part of the story, not the whole. Romanticizing the past blurs your vision of reality. It makes you forget the pain, the confusion, the nights you felt ignored, the moments when you questioned your worth. You begin to filter out the parts that hurt and focus only on the illusion of what felt good. It's a defense mechanism. Your heart doesn't want to let go, so your mind builds a softer story to keep the hope alive. But this false story becomes a trap. It stops you from moving forward. It keeps you emotionally tied to someone who may no longer be right for you. When you stop romanticizing the past, you start seeing things clearly. You remember not just the high points, but the patterns, the emotional distance, the lack of effort, the unanswered messages, the way you felt unsure, even when you were still together. It's not about being bitter. It's about being honest with yourself. Because healing doesn't happen in fantasy, it happens in truth. Every time you replay the best memories without balancing them with a full picture, you feed the illusion that this person was everything you ever wanted. You tell yourself, he was amazing, I just need to remind him of who we were. But if he was really that amazing for you, you wouldn't be in this situation now. You wouldn't be questioning, waiting, hurting. Love doesn't make you feel uncertain every day. Love makes you feel safe. There's also a danger in thinking that what you had was irreplaceable, that no one will ever understand you the way he did, that the connection was one of a kind. But the more you believe that, the more you close yourself off to new and better possibilities. You build a prison out of nostalgia. You wear your memories like chains. And no matter how much time passes, you stay emotionally stuck because your heart is still chasing a moment that's already gone. When you stop idealizing the past, you create space for something real, something that meets you where you are now, not where you used to be. And here's the powerful truth. The best parts of what you had weren't just about him, they were about you too. Your vulnerability, your ability to love, your excitement, your depth. You brought just as much beauty to that connection as he did, which means you can bring it again, somewhere new, with someone who values it fully. It's easy to believe that love was the best you'll ever have when you're grieving. But that belief doesn't come from wisdom. It comes from fear. Fear that you won't find it again. Fear that you gave your heart to someone who didn't deserve it. Fear that if you let go, the memories will lose their meaning. But letting go isn't about erasing what was. It's about accepting that it's no longer. And sometimes, when you finally stop painting the past with rose-colored brushes, you feel the sting of the truth. And that sting is what sets you free, because in that clarity, you begin to heal. You stop needing him to come back. You stop hoping for him to remember. And ironically, it's often when you release the illusion that he begins to remember. But by then, you may have already outgrown what you once thought you couldn't live without. So ask yourself honestly, are you missing him or the version of him you created in your mind? Are you holding on to the full relationship or just the pieces that felt good? Because when you finally stop romanticizing the past, you open the door to a future that's grounded, whole, and real. Not perfect, but honest. Not fantasy, but truth. And that's where your power lives. Not in recreating a highlight reel from someone who didn't stay, but in trusting yourself to build something better with someone new or with the most important person of all, you.